The administration then chose to defame me and, more importantly, the FBI by saying that the organization was in disarray, that it was poorly led, that the workforce had lost confidence in its leader. Those were lies, plain and simple.
Well, that, of course, is former FBI Director James Comey on President Trump's accusation against the FBI. The president cited those as reasons for firing Comey. Well, now more fingers are pointing following that stunning testimony. The president, of course, accusing Comey of lying under oath, while Comey claims the president is a liar about the Bureau's mood and morale and what you just heard. So how does all this affect the rank and file now on the streets, protecting us from criminals and terrorists? Danny Coulson knows firsthand. He's a former Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI and former commander of the FBI's hostage rescue team. Danny, those were harsh words and a harsh assessment from the President of the United States, but he got a blunt pushback by Comey.
He did, and I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle. The FBI doesn't need the director of the FBI to solve cases. When Director Sessions was going through his difficulties, I met with him almost every day, and he was there one day, and the next day he was fired, and we still went out and solved cases. I think the issue with the FBI agents is we need a director, or they need a director that will stand between them and the political influence that comes from the Department of Justice. And I think that's where James Comey fell down. I don't think he ever put on his FBI hat. He kept his DOJ hat on his head. And I think if there's any disconnect between the agents and Director Comey was that he allowed an investigation to proceed without a grand jury. He acquiesced to the idea that they would not investigate the Clinton Foundation, and that really sticks in their craw. These guys like to do investigations, and they weren't allowed to do it.
Sorry to interrupt you, but do you think, as you just say, and they think that he was a bit political? You just cited, the Clinton administration foundation. Lack of investigation, really delving into it even more.
That's exactly right, and there was plenty of cause here to do that investigation. And for the Attorney General to tell the director of the FBI, you can't do that, that is infuriating to people with my background. We want to find out what happened. We look at ourselves as kind of beacons in the night sky with regard to liberty and doing our job and finding out what happened. All the FBI wants to do is find out what happened. They don't really care who gets prosecuted. They don't care if their investigation exonerates somebody or convicts them. They want to do their job, and when they're not allowed to do their job, there's unbelievable frustration. Eric, you can't even imagine how when you dedicate your life to finding the truth and doing it within the confines of the law, and somebody for a political reason says, no, you can't do your job, yeah, that does cause disarray. The agents were furious about that. Did they like James Comey? Yeah, they liked him a lot. I liked him. But I think that James never put on his FBI hat. He didn't have that burning desire to do what we all are trained to do from the day we walk into the academy until the day we retire. And he never had that in him. And I think that was his undoing, very frankly.
And you talk about the Clinton administration and his announcement. Remember that? I mean, what was your reaction? The critics said that as the FBI director, it wasn't his role. It was up to the Attorney General to decide whether or not to proceed. As you say, the FBI just Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., just the facts, get the facts, do the investigation, and take it to the prosecutors. That's a prosecutor's job and not that of the FBI director.
A very, very well-known FBI commander made the right comment. He said, Director Comey colored outside the lines. If he wants to make prosecutive decisions, stay across the street and be in the Department of Justice. And that's why I said he never put on his hat. He never had an FBI hat on, and that was infuriating to most of us. It's not our job. It would be in the worst interest of judgment to allow an investigative agency to decide on prosecution. I can't think of a greater nightmare we could ever have in our country than allow that to happen. Well, it happens in some parts of the world, not here.
Then we also heard Loretta Lynch, his testimony calling the Clinton investigation, hiding that word, calling it a matter. Did you have any matters? When you went out and investigate, was it matters, or what did you do?
Sir.
Were you a FBI matterer, or what did you? Did you ever use that word? No. Really?
No, never. You know what? I never arrested a matter. I never prosecuted a matter. I never saw a matter get the death penalty in a case I ever did. That was outrageous. And I think that that Jim Comey is situational outrage. He was not outraged over that. He was not outraged over the fact he couldn't investigate the Clinton Foundation or he couldn't have a grand jury. So I think his outrage is sort of misplaced here. And I think that takes away from his credibility, at least in my eyes. I don't think that matters a lot to him, but it certainly helps hurts his image.
Well, and finally, Danny, now you got a new turning of the page, the nominee, Christopher Wray. I mean, he served alongside with James Comey. He's an esteemed lawyer, former prosecutor. Do you think he has the FBI vision to lead the agency, lead the Bureau?
I hope he does. I hope he understands that the culture as a Department of Justice is not the culture of the FBI. They're almost competing, even though the FBI works for DOJ and they're responsible to them. But we have a different way of looking at the world. And I hope he jumps in with both feet. His job is not to solve cases or tell them how to do it. It's his job to keep the wolves away. Let the agents do their job. If he does that, he'll be a great success.
If Mr. Wray is listening or watching or will, there's career advice to be a successful FBI director from Danny Coulson. Danny, good to see you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service.
It's always great.
For your service
Thank you,
all those
sir.
years.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks.